You definitely have to be really good at content creation and just creativity overall, which I said that's something that just can't be taught. I
Yeah.
mean, people can say, oh, that's such an easy job, or anyone can take a picture, or anyone can write a caption, or I can do that without you. And it's like, you can do that without me, then do it. Value yourself more, and your job is a real job.
Welcome to the Job Dictionary podcast. Today, I will be interviewing Catalina Yanez to learn more about what it's like to work as a social media manager for Gemini Group and Sapphire Social. Catalina, welcome. We're so happy to have you on today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, three questions that we always like to start our shows off with are, in your own words, what do you do? Where do you live? And as a kid, where did you want to be when you grew up?
So, in my own words, what I do is help my clients with brand awareness and sales and their social media goals through social media.
Right.
So, through content creation, through strategy, feed planning, graphics, captions, all of that. Um, those are my own words.
Yeah.
And then I live in Brownsville, Texas. I've lived here my whole life. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be in the medical field. And then I realized that that's a lot of science and math, and that's not my
That wasn't it. How long have you been working in this field?
since 2020, so this will be my fourth year.
Wow, that's awesome. Have you enjoyed it?
Yes.
Super cool. And then what made you want to get into this career path and how did you kind of get your start?
So technically nothing really made me want to get into this career
Mhm.
path. I never really knew it was a career path. In 2020, when the pandemic happened, everyone was like bored on social media, on TikTok, and I just started using social media. I've always been a creative person, like always. I've always loved photography, like art, crafts, just everything on the creative end I've always loved. So
Yeah.
I just decided to use my personal Instagram as like a little like influencer platform, if you will.
Right.
I started posting DIYs, and then I started posting skincare reviews and then outfits, and then that is actually how I got my first marketing job, literally because of my Instagram. So I used to work at a dealership called Luke Frame Motors, and
Hmm.
they reached out to me because of my Instagram and my captions and my content quality. So that is how I got my first marketing job.
Wow. And was that something that you kind of went searching for, or did they come to you first?
They came to me.
That's awesome. Um, uh, are there any like degrees or a certification that one truly needs to like be successful or to get this job?
No, you technically do not need a degree or any type of certification. I know if you get into higher level marketing positions like a CMO or like super senior executive, they probably will want you to have a degree. But I mean, to be a social media manager, you definitely don't need a degree. I don't have a marketing degree, fun fact. Um, this is one of those jobs where it's really like if you love it and if you are committed to putting in the time to it, and it also is something, like you just have to have it. It's something that can't really be taught. Like, yes,
Right.
there is like the logistics that can be taught, but no one can teach you like creative and thinking up ideas and how to write nice captions. That's kind of something that you have to have already in you, like that love, that like spark, thinking outside of the box. So yeah, you definitely don't need a degree.
Yeah, just kind of having like that creative bone in your body will kind of get you really far in a position like this one. Are there any other job titles that this position goes by, or is it mainly just social media manager?
Yes, so they'll call them different things: social media manager, social media marketer, content creator, account executive, things like that.
Awesome. And okay, so this is kind of just to learn about what a day in your life looks like when you're working. So, what is a day in the life like as a social media manager? Kind of like your start and end time, the amount of time that you spend doing solo work versus group work, in office, remote. What does that look like?
So start time will definitely be the minute I open my eyes. I'm very bad at clocking in. I mean, my work is on my phone for the most part. So the minute I wake up, I grab my phone, I'm working. That's usually around 9 a.m. I work in a remote position. Both of the companies, Gemini Group is an agency based in Las Vegas, and Sapphire Social is based in Brownsville, Texas. That's my company. Recently started. So everything's remote, and yeah, I pretty much get up, I'm on my phone, I'm already working, and then I'm typically in like loungewear or pajamas
Yeah.
or a my calls, when I have calls.
What are the specific tasks that you spend the majority of your day doing?
Emails. Emails all day long. You're going to be in the emails talking to your clients from the minute you wake up to the minute that you go to bed or they go to bed. That is task number one. I want to say task number two is calls, video calls with your clients, meetings. It could be anything from just your monthly regular strategy meeting to something specific for a launch or even a specific holiday. And then third, I want to say is the actual content creation.
Yeah, and then whenever you're doing like all these calls and emails and meeting with your clients, what's kind of like the goal of this call? Like, what are you guys working on? Is it a specific project? Is it the overall look of the brand? Or does that differ based on the client?
It differs based on the client and based on the agency that you work for. So, or whether you work for an agency or not, some people are social media managers for a specific brand, like just one brand, which I have done that also.
Hmm.
So it's a little bit different across all spectrums. I will say, working in an agency, when you have your client calls, the goal is to just go over the whole month. So we're going over the upcoming month. We're always the month ahead. So let's say in the first week of April, right now in April, we'd be planning May. So
Right.
we go over like First Day promos, holidays, anything that they want to target in that specific month. That's the goal.
Nice. What tools and technologies do you use as part of this job? I can imagine there's a lot of technology behind it.
Yes, the entire Apple ecosystem. I have an iPhone. I have two iPhones actually. One is my personal iPhone, which I still do have all my emails and all of that on there,
Right.
Slack and everything. And I have my other iPhone, which is just for content creation. This storage gets filled up real quick.
Yeah.
And then an iMac, I have a laptop, AirPods, iPad, the whole Apple
She's
ecosystem.
she's Apple's number one customer. Any social media, I
Yeah.
think, social media manager is going to be Apple's number one fan and customer.
Yeah.
Kind of moving on to what are the most exciting parts of this job for you?
The most exciting parts of this job for me are very obviously that I get to have my own schedule, that I don't have to clock in or out. I can literally be grocery shopping and like on a call sometimes,
Yeah.
or I can be out like go out to eat with my husband and I'm just like still working, or I can just take a break from work. And then second most exciting thing would be when my clients hit their goals, when things sell out, when they hit a sales goal. That's very exciting.
Yeah, I can imagine that's super rewarding, kind of seeing your vision like come to life on a platform. And I feel like if I
Yeah.
was a social media manager, I would just be like scrolling through my account like that I work for and just like watching all the work that I do. That must be so fun and so exciting. And on the flip side of that, what parts of this job are emotionally draining, challenging, or even boring, if that's even a possibility? What is that like?
Definitely not boring. It's never boring. But and I know this is a first world problem and this is a very like not bad problem to have, but the emotionally draining part of this job is that there's no such thing as a social media break
Mm,
or cleanse. Like no such thing as social media is too much right now. I need to get off because
mhm.
that's like well, that's your job. Like you cannot get off.
Right.
Even if it's a holiday and you're not working at the moment or it's midnight. I don't know. Like you always have to be on top of the trends. You always got to get on TikTok to see what's going on. You always got to get on Instagram because the algorithm's changing, because there's an update. There really is no disconnect from social media, and that is mentally draining, as one can imagine.
Yeah, no, I can really imagine. And I'm sure that it's also hard that you can't necessarily ever like clock out of this job, kind of like you were saying. That can be a blessing and a curse because you feel like you're always like your mind is always going, thinking of the next thing. So I'm sure that one has definitely struggled with that. What do you kind of do to alleviate that as best as you can? I know that you said you can't really take a cleanse because it's your job, but what are other ways that have kind of helped you ease that pressure a little bit?
I actually, obviously it's not working, but I've been trying to get on my phone an hour after I wake up. That's obviously not working. But that's one thing I'm trying to do. Like it's on my goal list. I'm like, don't get on your phone right away because then you're gonna wake up in a bad mood. Like if you see something on socials you don't like, and like that's not good for the rest of your day.
Right,
Another thing I try to do is actually funny, but I try to just disconnect from my own personal social media accounts.
right.
Like I probably have no idea what's going on there right now. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? social media with all my, I don't even know, 10, 15 clients. I don't even need to get on my own. Like, I don't want to see it.
Yeah, you're like, at this point, I don't care what happens to that one. I'm worried about the success of my clients right now. Are there any busy seasons in this job? Like one specific season where it's super, super nonstop? Does it kind of like differ throughout the year? Do you see patterns in that?
Yeah, so every single person in marketing or corporate America is going to tell you that Q4 is the busiest time of everyone's lives because October, November, December,
Yep.
we have Black Friday, which is the biggest sale of the year,
Yeah,
and holidays, a whole bunch of just different holiday sales, gift sets, promotions, everything. It's nonstop busy, crazy.
I can imagine. I feel like that holiday season is just like it's like a blur for almost any profession also, just like what just happened, especially someone who works remote, like I know we both do. It's kind of like where even am I right now? So yeah, I definitely agree with that. What do people underestimate about this profession?
Something that a lot of people underestimate about being a social media manager is that it's easy and that all you do is create little videos and go about your day, but it's definitely much more than that. As I said previously, I mean, it's meetings, emails, you're talking about sales goals, you're looking at numbers.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. And you have your clients literally relying on you to help them make sales, to help them grow their brand. And that obviously is your job, but that's very like heavy, can weigh really heavy on you. And a lot of people think, oh, well, they're just putting out videos like for fun. And it's like, well, yes, it's for fun and it's for a trend, but it's also to make our clients money. And that's stressful because it's like, well, our clients need to eat and they gotta feed
Yeah,
people. So we to help them push. And then especially with everything going on in the world, that makes it even harder because it's like people don't want to buy right now. I mean, especially following Q4, everyone's like, I spent all my money, like that's it,
definitely.
Q1, like I'm saving grind, but your clients are still looking to you like, hey, we need to make money, we need to make sales. So that's something people underestimate.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much strategy and like thought and mental effort that goes behind this job. So I think that that's something that people don't necessarily like look at right away when they hear the term social media manager, because it sounds very fun, it sounds very modern. It's like something that everyone kind of feels like they relate to, but they don't notice the business side of it all. So
Yeah.
I can definitely see that happening. Also, on the flip side of that, what do people overestimate about this profession? So this can be something that's super hyped up, super positive assumption about something, about how cool your job is, or how negative and how draining. What's something that people typically like overestimate?
Um, I think also kind of relating to the other
Yeah.
side, like because it's so easy, like they're like, oh, well, you're an influencer and you're super famous and like everyone loves you and everyone knows you and you make a whole bunch of money to do nothing. And it's like, first of all, I don't make a whole bunch of money. And second of all, I do work. Like they think, oh my gosh, like these little girls, well, not just girls, anyone can be a social media manager, right? But like I'm just a girl, whatever. They're like,
Right.
they're sitting in front of their computer, like, and they make a whole bunch of money and they didn't have to go to school. And it's like, that's not true.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that. They think that it's just like putting on a little bit of cute top, hair and makeup, and then that's it. But there's so much to this. Kind of moving on to what is the fastest way to get into this profession, especially if someone has like a non-traditional background and wants to get their foot in the door? What's the fastest way that they can get to what you're doing?
The fastest way to get to this position is to work hard. Obviously, that's every position, but if you don't have that marketing degree to back you up, I know, like I said, you don't need the degree, but a lot of companies are gonna like want it or want to see some sort of credentials.
Hmm.
If you don't have that degree, the fastest way is to work hard on your own personal brand, like even if it's your own Instagram or even if it's a small shop like in your town, someone local, work hard, build a portfolio, even if it's just one, two clients, or even just yourself, so that you have something to present and something to pitch to the people, the company, the person that you're trying to get the job from.
Right. You kind of mentioned like going into your community, like shops and businesses. Do you feel like networking is kind of like a big part of this job, like going out and meeting people, or is that something that you also can connect to through social media, or do you prefer in-person interactions?
I definitely prefer in-person interactions. It's very easy for someone to tell you no over the phone.
Mm,
Um, and it's much harder for them to say no in person. It's
Right.
kind of a little like tactic. Um, but and it's also easier for you to pitch yourself and for them to see your personality, because another reason why people want to work with you is not just your skills. They want to work with you because of who you are, your personality, your work ethic, your determination, your drive, just who you are as an individual and as a worker. So going out and being in your community, like going to coffee shops, getting to know the owners, getting to know the owners of every business in your community, and it's not necessarily like right away just to like, oh, I want a client, but it's just to get to know them, because maybe if that's not your client, maybe their friend is your client.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of like to attest to all of that, you and I met at a coffee shop. So that's exactly
Yeah.
how we got you on the show because you and I formed that previous connection. So a huge little like tactic I think for social media managers is to just go and get out there and market yourself on and off the screen.
Yeah, I agree.
What other fields are people coming from before getting into this profession? Is it random or are there themes?
I definitely think there's themes. People are going from like a virtual assistant to full-blown social media manager,
Mm.
photographer to social manager, influencer to social media manager. That's actually what I did.
Hmm.
So it's definitely people in the creative space, people that in the virtual space, and then
Hmm.
they're like kind of transferring over to social media manager, marketer role.
Yeah. And then, in your opinion, what do you think that someone has to be really good at or really enjoy doing to be successful at this job?
You definitely have to be really good at content creation and just creativity overall, which I said that's something that just can't be taught. And
Yeah.
you can go to marketing school, but they cannot like teach you how to like pull the idea from your brain and put that on paper. So that's just something you have to be really, really good at. Like I always say and I always tell people, like you can learn the other stuff later. Like you can learn how to send a really good email later. You can learn how to work Google Sheets later and
Yeah.
all those things later. But if you can at least come with that, like look, I'm super creative. I have all these ideas. They're good ideas. I have proof that they're good ideas. They work.
Yeah.
You're good.
So, what parts of this job have come naturally to you? What parts were you good at already before you got this position that you now use to succeed in what you do?
So the parts that come naturally to me and things I was just already good at were just social media in general.
Hmm.
And I want to say communication. So because I was an influencer before becoming a social media manager, I already knew how to communicate very well in emails, which then helped communicate with my clients. I already knew everything about all the apps, the algorithms, all the hacks and things on social media.
Right.
So I was easy for me to present that to my clients.
Yeah. How long does it usually take for somebody to get really good at this job?
That is all up to you. That depends on how much you want it, how hard of a worker you are. I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
When I want something one day to the next, I'm gonna make sure it's done. So that's all up to you. I mean, I also know and I understand like sometimes it's a side hustle for people. People are in school, people have other jobs. So it really just depends how much time you want to put into things and how fast of a learner you are. Yeah.
Yeah. And when it comes to like promotion paths and all of that type of jazz, does something like that exist as a social media manager? Is there a promotion path where you can get to like a higher position, or is it a one and done type of job?
So it typically depends if you work. I've worked in all three, so I'll just kind of describe all
Yeah,
three. If you
definitely.
work for a like one brand, you typically will start off as like just a base social media manager, and then you'll just go up in like typical levels after that, all the way to like senior executive manager. Still doing the same thing, but like at that point, you're maybe training other social media managers, or at that point, like all you're doing is reviewing content. You have other people making content for you. It comes to your desk, you review it, you look at the captions, you make sure, and you sign off on everything.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that's if you work for one company. If you work for an agency, the only promotion really would be like account executive, senior account executive, just kind of moving up. And all that means is that you're more senior, you'll get paid a little bit more, and that your not really bosses because you're a freelancer, but your bosses trust you more, or they'll recommend you to higher ticket blue chip accounts. So if they get a really, really big account, let's say a verified account, you're first pick for them.
Got it. Okay.
There's one more.
Yeah.
So then if you are create your own agency, then you become the CEO,
Yeah.
which happened to me. So then that's the highest position you can have. You are basically the boss and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, and then you have like many social media managers under you. So that must be
Yes.
also a really big moment in your career where you were like, wait, full circle, you started there, now you're at the top. So big congratulations for that.
Thanks.
What is the average salary for somebody at your level? Does it differ based on projects, or is that kind of like a yearly salary? So give us a little bit of a range, even if it's broad.
So this one's a little difficult. It's going to depend on, again, the three, if you work for somebody, if you work for an agency, or if you work for yourself, and it's also going to depend where you are.
Mm,
So you work, I mean, I'm in Brownsville, Texas, but the agency that I work for is in Las Vegas. So I'm getting Las Vegas social media
yeah,
manager pay, which is same as Brownsville, Texas pay. So it's all going to depend. I mean, the range is broad. It can literally be from like 10K a year all the way up to the six figures plus.
yeah.
It really just depends.
Big, big, broad range. When people in your field move on to something else, if they do, what kind of work do they often go into next?
If they move on, what I've seen them move on to is, so if you're technically just a social media manager, they will definitely move into the CEO role, which is what happened to me.
Hmm.
They realized, hey, I can do this and create my own agency and get little mini social media managers. So that's definitely their next step. Even bigger than that, people typically go into things like real estate and investments and stuff like that.
Yeah. Are there any books or resources, programs, or certifications that you recommend someone that wants to get into this profession takes advantage of?
Honestly, I don't know that there's any like courses or like books. I
Hmm.
will say study social media, like just the apps in general.
Hmm.
And I will say, I know I said college isn't required, but if you have the means to take just an extra course for fun to like learn the logistic side, I would do that. So I took a digital photography class and a film photography class, and those are not in my major, but I took them anyways,
Yeah.
just because I was like, I want to learn logistics. Like I want to learn the like quote unquote real stuff about photography so that when I'm talking to my clients, I have all of that information with
Yeah.
photography.
Yeah, that's super good advice. Even if you don't necessarily need it, kind of having that educational background on any profession is beneficial. Like it doesn't matter what it is. I think just kind of having like that previous knowledge and like studies and facts and logistics to back up what you're preaching is definitely helpful. Are there any
Yeah.
popular ones that you hear of that you're like, I don't recommend that, don't get into that, or have you ever heard of something like that?
Um, if this one's funny, but if somebody's offering you like a social media course, like, and it's like $1,000, do not do that. They are going to teach you and talk to you about everything that I literally just talked to you all about here on this podcast. They're just going to tell you what the job is, how to get into it, and you really do not need to pay someone to tell you about that.
Yeah, that's super good advice. I'm sure that there's so many people that are just starting that are kind of like falling for things like that and scams. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. To kind of like sum up everything and all the wonderful advice and insight that you've given us into a job as a social media manager, what would you tell your younger self that was just getting started at the beginning of your career? I mean, you're already very young. So kind of like your first year, 2020, what would you tell yourself?
I would definitely tell 2020-year-old me that my job is a real job
Yeah.
and that I'm very talented and to stop undervaluing myself, that clearly people have hired me because they're missing something that I have. People can say, oh, that's such an easy job, or anyone can take a picture, or anyone can write a caption, or I can do that without you. And it's like, if you can do that without me, then do it.
Yeah,
So I would definitely tell value yourself more, and your job is a real job.
that's amazing. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Catalina, for joining us today. You shared so much wonderful advice and insight to aspiring social media managers. We loved having you on. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Thanks so much. It was an honor being a part of it.
Yeah.
You just got one episode closer to learning about the world of jobs out there. To explore the rest of our career categories and find your best fit, go to jobdictionary.com to sign up for the beta users waitlist. Then subscribe here to find the next episodes coming out this week. And as always, drop us a comment, review, or message to let us know how we could better attune our episodes to your specific needs. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Threads, Pinterest, and wherever else you're on socials to go get our short, snappy preview reels that expose you to new job options every day. Because here at Job Dictionary, we believe your big aha moment can be just one scroll away. Go check it out and get out there. Cheers!